For the record, this is In the Shadow of the White City, episode 3 of season 2, One Shot with Abner. When we last left Abner in episode 2, there was, at the very light parsing of what took place, a bit of tension within the troop, a bit of wariness and paranoia driven home.
Yep.
So with that being the case, and the mission before the troop being one of diplomatic representation for Dalton to secure the treaty, though silent, between Dalton and the gleaming jewel of the Camarilla, all in one fell swoop. Craig is having issues. I do apologize about that. So taking time and thought to himself, leaving for the evening, the remainder of the evening, with the burner phone figuratively burning a hole in his pocket. What thoughts assail Abner in regards to everything that he actually is privy to?
The Beast and Abner are currently in a way, a sort of locking of ideas right now.
Okay.
Abner is currently thinks that everything that how to describe it, that he was betrayed, or might have been betrayed, and if he was, how would he find out? What can he do? The Beast is most likely telling him just take him out, take out the bastard, but Abner is not thinking like that.
Okay. So with the many thoughts assailing him as to the very true to him, very with the facts that have filtered across, that something was discussed, something was presented by Everett that changed how the government of Dalton chose to interact with the troop as a whole, knowing that your partner stated that there were several things afoot and they were keeping watch. He let slip almost certain other interactions, and specifically one action that took place in Chicago itself. Chicago itself is a whole different kit and caboodle. It is a whirlwind and maelstrom of activity, parsing what is supernatural wrongdoing versus, unfortunately, though the statement may be, normal wrongdoing, borders on the impossible. Not only do the monsters have their fingers in nearly every pie, unfortunately, they aren't the sole purveyors of those wrong. There are smugglings, kidnappings, arms dealing, drug dealing, illicit sexual activity, prostitution of all sorts, stripes, and varieties, despite their inciting incident, whether the people are stolen or forced into that trade, or whether they're using that trade to obtain ill-gotten gains and services, or if they are in fact just upstanding business people using the only skills and trade they have available to them at easy recollection. It still boils down to that somewhere in that chain of events there is some monster that should not be there. Whether that monster is dead or not doesn't stop it from being illicit or wrong, or at the very minimum ethically reprehensible to the standing of your organizations.
I need a break. I need to do something.
Something is the byword, to say the least, as the realities of just how tangled things were, especially when hearing how James, the the regent of the Tremere in the south suburbs, and all but primogenitor, all but acting member of the governing body of the kindred in the area, spoke that there are agents buried deep in most organizations that have governmental ties. And though you hate to admit it, there has to be some truth to it. Because the standard operating procedure in situations like this would be to use the small fish to hook the big fish. You are already buried deep into the facility that is the kindred community, and yet and still the actions are catastrophic. They're huge affairs that usually devolve to Sash being called in. And as we all know, Sash is literally using a nuclear weapon to destroy an anthill.
They can't be trusted. I need to figure something out. How can I lure them out, though? As I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out a way to potentially lure out the potential leaks.
That is a most interesting puzzle to distract your mind and focus your attentions. As you are doing so, as those thoughts are congealing and forming, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll a wits and streetwise for me?
Of course, it's Streetwise. Everyone loves Streetwise, am I right?
Streetwise is the all-purpose, low-level, just apparent right and wrongness of the area you're in, for the most part, especially in such nice urban areas such as
If it's a
Dalton.
failure, it's a bestial. 2 successes.
Two successes. That literally means that you are, even while mentally distracted and doing the prototypical movie, stalking through the dark with the montage of viewing you from several different angles as you slink from one shadow to the next, thoughts clearly playing behind your eyes. Even in that distracted state, your mind is staying aware as to your immediate environment, staying aware as to what's happening around you. And you have never before, at least within the last year, come upon another kindred in the midst of stalking. You have never before spotted another member of the Dalton community a hunt. And even though you inherently have the knee jerk reaction that this is wrong, that the dead thing should not stalk the living, the way they do it, the way that they slink from shadow to shadow, easing into their prey's shadow, pulling out a cell phone, looking distracted, as the gentleman pauses, watches them from a distance of what seems to be roughly 3 meters or so, sees them, rules them as not a threat. And you, being a relatively solid guy with training, wouldn't consider them a threat, but you would also consider their closeness, their proximity, as a reason to be wary. Most people seeing such an individual as this on the smaller side, on the easily physically overwhelmed size, would rule them out, and they use it to their benefit. It is a thing of beauty. You see the gentleman, their prey, look them over once, twice, consider them nothing more than the average effeminate modern male distracted by electronics, i.e., a neck beard without the beard, out in public, out in the wild. No threat at all. And then the pounce happens. You literally watch them take flight. The phone slipped away mid leap, the head driven into the wall behind the gentleman, their prey. The knee followed swiftly on, the armbar forcing them down into the ground, the rifling through their clothes one-handed as their fangs sink home in the man's neck from behind, making it seem to all the world like what it is, a robbery, though not of their finances, not of their belonging, but of their life's blood. The double head blows clearly designed to disorient the prey. The rifling of the clothing to make it appear as if it was your average standard criminal activity, as if it was your average standard robbery. And then the swift kick to the head, that was clearly for some semblance of joy as they rose and began making their way further afield of their victim left lying, savaged quickly and left to heal in their own time.
I attempt to shadow them.
Dexterity and stealth, or yes, dexterity and stealth to start. And let's see what your successes are. You need a minimum just so that you are aware of what your goal is. Their passive action right now is keeping wary. You're looking for a pool of 3 or better.
I'm going to. Okay, I can increase my hunger by 1. This is a kindred, so my speciality does take effect, correct?
Yes.
Alright. Let's see here. Doing the quick math. Okay. Critical. 8 successes.
You are a ghost. You are a memory of your former self. You might as well be made of air and gas. You slip easily into their shadow, moving from one unmoving pit of darkness to the next, trailing them nearly across the entire width of the neighborhood. You find yourself, second here, second, the accurate location, properly describe the out of the way area that they are residing in. You find yourself on Meadow, just north of 151st Street. You've managed to pass the Taco Palace and Big Bubba's and all of the well lit places that people who frequent the area would hit on their way home from drinking and investing themselves in funds. It's a little more out of the way than usual, but it's still a nice, quiet neighborhood. The last sort of neighborhood you'd expect for a denizen of the dark such as yourself to inhabit. Lo and behold, they make their way to a two flat. They circle the building once, twice, and when they are almost sure that they are alone, instead of entering through either of the main doors, they begin scaling the building to the second story window, raising it and slinking in, very much like the prototypical monster from beneath the bed. No lights go on as you watch from the ground floor, but you can hear them moving around in there, and they don't bother to close the window.
Hmm. I keep listening, using heightened senses to hear from below.
Do you slink closer to the building so that you can get a better vantage point to hear?
Mm-hmm.
More. Okay, that being the case, give me a wit and awareness just to see what level of information you are privy to.
If it's a failure, bestial, 3 successes.
As you sneak closer to the house, the movements inside are decidedly underwhelming. You hear the drop of something heavy, followed shortly thereon by another drop of something heavy hitting the floor. You hear a fan being turned on. You hear the click clack of keyboard keys being struck. Then you hear the unzipping, which is clearly the jacket they were wearing. You hear the rifling of plastic in this and the skittering of claws on a wooden floor. And then you hear the creaking of spring. And lastly, and most annoyingly, you hear, you take the good, you take the bad, you take the sad, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. And from where you are down below, the brightness of clearly a TV or computer monitor shines out of the window above.
I listen for a little bit longer.
The soft snuffling of a snouted nose snuffling up something off the floor, the skittering and the light tingle of the spring as clearly they join whatever that being is on whatever it is they chose to lay upon, and the snore-like breathing of a medium-sized animal, clearly a dog or very large cat.
Is there anything I can use to... Let's see. I'm going to hold my shirt up to my face to make it harder to identify myself, and then attempt to go in.
That is the second easiest thing you've done all night. Tucking your shirt around the lower portion of your face, you make it through the window before the clearly kindred inside has an opportunity to realize that someone else besides themselves can make that climb. The moment you land into the spare bedroom, you feel like shit. Your mind immediately goes, like all good heroes, like Batman himself, to the worst possible outcome. Because the kindred you followed, while small and a little bit of feet, was clearly an adult, but this bedroom was clearly decorated by a child or for a child. There is posters of Transformers and Marvel superheroes lining most of the walls. There's a Dragon Ball Z velvet poster, well, silkscreen poster hanging on the door. There are old high school letter jackets, clearly more than 1 year. There's a leather messenger bag with a laptop still stuck in it, crunched into a corner, out of the way mostly, but clearly in the way of the door. The shelves are lined with figurines of all sorts. There's um, Neon Angel Evangeline, there's Battle Angel Alita, there's several Transformers, there's a Deadpool. The place is a comic and pseudo Weebo's wet dream. And there on the bed that has clearly seen more use than it should is the kindred you followed, divested of their leather jacket, the jeans still rumpled and wrinkled, well lived in, their socks, which you sure were at one point white, a nice gray, the boots they were wearing kicked off just underneath the laptop desk, and on the bed themselves next to them is a mid-sized months, a sooner one breed as another, clearly shepherd mixed because it immediately takes a defensive position, growling and lowering its head, not the shrinking fear that most animals have. Instead, it seems to have grown accustomed to being near and around kindred and are treating you simply as an intruder.
So, this is where
What
the
the
monster.
fuck?
So this is where the monsters live. I want to
Look,
ask a few questions.
you don't want to be here, man. You don't want to see me when I get angry.
Funny. That's what a lot of people say about me.
Even though with that very brave and almost believable boast, there's something a little less than about that threat, because even as the threat is made, the hand immediately goes to the dog to keep them near at hand. Not for fear of the dog hurting you, but more as a sense of security for themselves.
I want to ask a few questions. I'm going through a bit of an identity crisis myself. And I
What the
saw...
fuck?
Don't lie to me, I know what you are. I think you know what I am too. I turned off, by the way, heightened senses because I'm not taking the risk. I'm not taking the risk of them doing something that hurts my ears.
Look, I have not hunted on anybody's territory. I didn't poach anybody. If
I
he
don't
was
care.
somebody's, so he wasn't yours.
I don't really care. I just want to ask a few questions right now.
What do you want, man?
I don't know. Okay, that one
Despite,
was...
despite what anybody thinks, liking comic books does not make me gay. So, if you're here for stuff
What?
like that, you're in the wrong place, man.
He just sees me, look at him like, what? I think you're misunderstanding me a lot.
I didn't misunderstand most of you motherfuckers. Y'all got weird rules. This is somebody's territory. You're stepping on somebody's toes. Look.
So you're unaffiliated. Good.
How's that good, man? I get the short end of the stick all the way around. You're unaffiliated too?
I don't care. That's what it is. I wanted to talk. I saw what you did. I saw how you did it. Made me sick. But at the same time, I followed you, and I see this. The most human thing I can see in a long time.
Just because you're dead doesn't mean you stop being human, man. Like, I hate hunting. I wait till the last minute I possibly can. I hold it off as long as I can. But it needs to be done, so I hold off until I feel that Hulk starting to get stronger.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that Hulk, that monster, that's that big, mad, mean green. So you can't let it take control. So I go before.
Okay, I
it gets
have to ask
stronger.
Sev. Alright, that just tells me a lot about you right now, mate. Tell me, do you know who turned you?
Yeah,
Did they abandon you, or did they keep you around?
a little bit of both. I just couldn't do it. All of the fucking politics, man. It's still the same way. Big fish pick on little fish, and people been around too long to let go of their power. But the only time that shit changes when they get kicked out of place. I'm not strong enough to kick anybody out of their place, and well,
I can understand that. By the way, I closed the window a little bit and say, honestly, right now, I don't know what to think.
it's easy.
Hmm.
Pick what you want to do and just do it. Because everybody else is going to tell you, no matter what you do, you're doing it wrong, or they're going to try to use you for their own ends. Me, look, man, I like old movies. I like old series. I like old comedy shows. Like I'm watching the second season of Laverne and Shirley right now. You can come over and watch it with me, as long as you take care of your Hulk by yourself. I don't mind sharing. Like Susan here, she's all bark. She really is. But then he starts petting her. But she's a good girl, and
Is
well,
she
if
all
I
you have?
stop,
Is she all you have left?
no. But I don't want to really be a monster around anybody else. So I talk to them online. I hang out with them via Zoom, and then I get on with being dead.
Hmm.
I pay. Come on, man. I pay my rent with stolen money. I'm one of the few people in this neighborhood that rent is always paid because even with me holding the Hulk at bay, I make easily 4 grand a month robbing folks. Something I would never have thought to do. Something I couldn't bring myself to do for a very long time. But then my mom died, and she didn't die like I did. She died, like gone, bye. That was the turning point for me. She always wanted the best for me. I'll settle with just being okay. And being okay means keeping our old family home, paying my bills, and whiling away 6 or 7 hours a night watching old series.
Hmm. Mind if I sit down?
Yeah, man, come on. You did take care of your Hulk already, right? You ain't gotta worry about throwing chairs or anything, right?
I can assure you right now, he won't do anything.
All right, cool. Uh, you ever watch Laverne and Shirley? It is a Gary Marshall show. His sister, that's her right there.
Hmm.
One of the best spin-offs you have never watched. I'm not sure. I don't know how old you are, but this was like,
It's. I'm. I was like. I was 40 whenever. I was 36 when I died.
that sucks, man. Did your sire do it to you because they were mad, or because you were in love,
It was
or
because
what?
I was dying.
Ouch,
Stage 4 lung cancer.
that sucks. And I always wanted to pick up smoking. Glad I didn't.
Yeah. Sucks. My lungs are still deformed. Can't hold my breath very long, even if I don't have to breathe.
So how do you seem human with knowing that that's what's happening, what's going on? You seem like a pretty strong guy.
Strong, yes. I have to hit people without them knowing. They don't
Eh,
see me coming. You didn't see me coming.
yeah, but I'm not like the rest of them. And the rest of them, they look, man. One of the reasons why I stayed in Dalton, I snuck up to the city with my maker. I was doing our thing. Like she don't have to worry about the day-to-day shit. She comes from old money even during her living days and shit. So this vampire shit is another another day for her, another night. So she's used to money. So we go up to Chicago, and
Hmm.
she wants to introduce me to this club. It's called Crooks,
Ugh.
and it's filled with to the rafters with people like us, dead, but not really dead, and they're having an orgy
Blech.
in the back room, just feeding on all these little streetwalkers and escorts and girlfriend experience sex workers. It is, if you're into that sort of thing, before you died, this would definitely be the spot because they're so into it, they can't tell whether it's fangs or other appendages being shoved into them. Not sure they even really cared. They were so drugged out. And a girl, we go because she's wants to meet up with somebody. What was that broad's name? Anyways, some warlock, some Tremere, some um,
Tremere.
Anon, Anon something. Anyway, so she meets up with this Anon somebody, and Anon has a twin sister. Never got her name, and they're talking and exchanging all of these coded phrases and touching each other in certain ways to convey meaning, and it's a whole shit show. My girl, I know she loved me, but in the early days, it got old real fast. I could see her for what she was and how little she considered. Literally 2 feet away from where she was sitting was this guy being rammed with a prosthesis that was large enough to cause internal bleeding. While he was being taken, well, while he was giving himself, and so high off of his mind, he didn't realize how bad they were hurting him. Two others were in front of him, feeding, not from his neck, not from his muscle. One was feeding from his tongue, and the other was feeding from his jawline, purposefully causing this man more pain than he would ever be able to live down. They were debasing and defiling him. I felt like I was a little titillated at first. Like, it's sex time, it looks good, it looks fun, it looks like something out of a movie. But as I actually took in how wrong they were being, it started to make me angry. It started to make me sick to my stomach. And she's just sitting here with these two, attractive though they were, twins, talking
Monsters.
as if nothing was happening. I almost lost my lunch and I didn't eat at this point. So I managed to keep it down just long enough for us to leave. She got whatever information she's looking for. She's looking for some stupid book, some apocryphal something. It was a book, some weird text, some weird book that she had heard about that had secrets to something or another. We get to the car and I'm trying to tell her how sick it made me. And you know what she says?
You'll get used to it.
No, worse. She had gotten used to it before she'd even died. Those were the sort of parties that her rich friends would have. They'd get coked out or methed out or cracked out, whatever poor people drug they could get their hands on, and go as hard as they could until they couldn't go anymore. Then they spend a week in rehab with doctors fighting for their lives, or worse, fighting for their sanity. They'd get out, stay clean for a month, not go party anywhere, and then they do it again over the course of another week. And it was an endless cycle because they had money to burn and time to burn. They didn't have jobs. They didn't need jobs. And that's really what made me sick of the rest of them, because it's a rich person's game. They don't value human life when they were alive. So being dead doesn't change that for them.
You want to know what happened to me?
Of course. Like, we're friends now, right?
Yeah. I was actually part of a organization. You might have heard of it in our On Death, Flashlight, Second Inquisition. I hunted monsters. Hunted vampires, werewolves. Served in the war, Iraq. Just try to do what I thought was right. And then I was dying. My sire gave me a second chance, and I took it. Wanted to use this opportunity to get rid of all the monsters of the world. And to second guess myself to an extent.
Tough, man. But how are you gonna get rid of the monsters in the world still are here?
One of them at a time. Until either I go, or they go.
Like, that's tough, man. That's real tough. My mom was a diehard Catholic and believed in the whole salvation of your soul and peace be unto you, and she still died when it was her time. And here I am, squandering immortality because I'd much rather be not a monster. I'd much rather be a good thing. Like, I became this because I really loved her. I really did. Like, Jessica was like my everything. I was willing to die for her. He motions to himself when he says that. But we're just too different. Like, even alive, there was always a certain callousness there, but seeing it for what it really is, what it really was, I thought it was the vampire thing. Like, you get so old, nothing really matters. And then she told me that. And then here you are, dedicated to fighting monsters, and you die of cancer. And you want to kill the monsters, but dude, I'm not really a monster. I only feed when I have to keep me from being a monster.
I saw that.
And then you got people that are doing the exact same thing financially, emotionally, feeding not because they have to, but because they want to. They want to exploit themselves and the world around them. And they get up every morning and either go to a job they don't need, or buy things they don't need, or debase themselves because no one really needs that, but they do it anyway just to feel something.
Hmm.
Being dead don't make you a monster. Doesn't have to, unless of course you were a monster to start with.
Hmm. I know you're. I don't know much about your mother, but I hope she's in heaven. I hope she's alright. Better than what we're dealing with right now, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I hope she's in heaven, or at least happy, no matter where she's at. And with that, he turns back to the episode, stops hitting. He hits the play button and settles into a comfortable numbness. Him and Susan, with him absently stroking her fur, laughing at, strangely enough, nearly all of the appropriate moments. And it's clear that this show was old before he was even thought of. Yet he's enjoying the simple, straightforward humor, taking what pleasure he can.
Hmm. Alright. 1 second. My dogs are just coming in and they're demanding I love them.
No, completely understandable.
Get away from the cord. No! Tiny babies. Aw, tiny babies. Can you stop trying to bite my nose, tiny little babies? I have tiny babies. They're adorable. Aw, precious. Okay, back to thing. Alright, back to thing.
So whiling away a few hours of the rest of the night, you know from this location you can get home within probably 26, 27 minutes at a full sprint. Luckily, you don't have to breathe unless, of course, you blush life. So a good sprint, 27 minutes of it, and you can be home, or you can, steal a car and be there in 6 or 7 at this hour of the evening.
After I stay with the guy for a little bit, about an hour before, about 30 minutes before the whole thing, I say, I'm gonna go.
Okay, man. I say text me when you get home, but most of us don't have cell phones. I'll see you around.
I'll see you around. I'll see you around for real. I gotta hunt tomorrow. Make sure I don't know what to do, honestly. I'll see you.
And as you make your way away from the most strangely enlivening evening you've had in several months since watching your wife on a business outing, there's some truth that he was experiencing, some truth he was living, some debt that he was paying to himself that settles and sticks with you. And as much as you hate to admit it, these people, these kindred, for the most part, were monsters before they became kindred. And there are many more monsters in the waking world, in the living world. That combined with the small exchange of information from James to Everett and the others after the meeting with the government of the village sticks with you. There are monsters of all stripes and variety, living, dead, in several states in between. There's people who are doing what they need to survive, and people who are thriving off of causing madness and mayhem, causing drama and trauma to the world around them. That definition needs changing. It can't simply be monsters because that opens up the floodgates to all sorts of monstrousness, all sorts of monstrosity and moral, ethical dilemmas arise. But all the same, those deep thoughts bouncing around the inside of his skull. When Abner arrives home, his neighbor, strangely enough, is coming in at the same time. She's laden with groceries, and you know that she went to the 24-hour Walmart because there's nothing else open at this hour. Plus, the plastic bag she's carrying proudly emblazoned the Walmart star. Oh, hey, Mr. Abner, how you doing?
I'm fine.
You don't look it. You look a little down in the mat. I'm just getting in. I'm actually getting ready to fix dinner.
You want me to help you with those?
Sure thing.
I grab a few groceries and help her bring them in.
The two of you working together means that it takes considerably less time than otherwise. In the doing, you realize that she is just as security conscious as she had been previously. Her impromptu board underneath her windows are still there. The blood has no scent left in her apartment, yet she has additional boards, one behind the door that if she closes it at the right angle, the board would drop and anyone walking in wouldn't realize they were stepping on a plate of nails until it was far too late.
I see that break-in really stuck with you. I'm glad
Yeah,
you're taking steps to protect yourself.
thanks for helping me with that. I found out where he works. I'm trying to decide on whether I want to get him fired or not.
Either way,
I mean, he was mostly harmless, but still the idea of it, like, that's just way
terrifying.
It is. It is. I'm glad you were here to help. I'm glad he didn't die. And yeah. And she starts putting away groceries. And she finally slips out of her jacket. But if you're not going to have dinner, I'm going to go ahead and lock up for the night and hop in the shower and then fix dinner.
All right. I need to go to bed. I have a job in the morning, night, and the evening tomorrow.
Get some rest. You're going to need it.
I know.
Bedding down and rousing for the next night. The very first thing that happens is that damn accursed phone goes off and vibrates. That damn burner with that mission for the government of the village, with that demand on your time and on your energies, followed shortly thereon with a coded message, and one that you never thought you'd see again. Way back, roughly a decade or so ago, you all ran out a competing agency, a non-aligned member of the Inquisition, as it at the time. They were just competing agents and just operators that you all didn't want operating inside your field of duty, but they were insistent. They were, imagine if you took the SAS agents as equally violent and equipped, but put them into cells of operation. That's what the Knights of Judas were. They weren't a whole cadre of force operators. They were agent provocateurs, willing to sacrifice all semblance of honor and ethics in executing their duties. They had working relationships with creatures of the dark.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think my dog's got something. I'll be right back. And we're back. I'm sorry.
No worries, I completely understand. So that where we were, the electronic dead drop of the text that you receive is not quite blood curdling, but it is definitely a text you'd hope to never see again. It's definitely an intelligence report you'd hope to never have, and it simply says KNST Betrayer, which is code for Knights of St. Judas. That means that they are operational, have been caught in the act, or at least there's intelligence providing assured proof that they are operating in the Dalton area.
That's not good.
And then you provided an address from the burner phone for a location on Sibley Boulevard, Route 80, just east of, Lincoln Avenue and Dorchester, where they meet. It's for Yoshama, the pseudo-Japanese restaurant where you can get bubble tea and all sorts of Japanese-esque cuisine. So there's a definitive choice you must make. Either pursue your life's work in hunting down monsters and keeping the world as safe as you can, or fulfilling your responsibilities to the village at large and heading to that meeting. Which of those two would Abner choose?
Okay, it's hard. It's a little hard to hear there. Um, which one is the pursuing the helping the village? Can I ask?
For helping the village is fulfilling your contractual responsibilities, i.e., going to the restaurant Yoshama.
All
The
right.
other, the other would be heading to the operation station directly across the street from the Harmony and seeing where the knights have been sighted.
I'll be right back. Again, something just came up. Okay, I'm sorry. Something again came up there. I'm back.
No worries, I understand. Real life definitely makes a way. But the choice is there before Abner. Which path will he choose?
He's gonna. He's He's gonna go for the take out the monsters.
Okay. So, moving across the city, counter to the address that's been provided, he finds himself at the watch post. The headquarters are directly across the street from the Harmony. Upon entering, he sees his partner and as close to family as he can actually have in this world that he inhabits, angrily kicking the trash can, angrily beating the trash can, angrily there's a wealth of steam rising from his ears as he vents his anger physically, and you know that he's gonna have bruises later. He's not as young as he once was, and metal isn't meant to be benched by hand, at least not in that particular fashion. He finally calms down and realizes that you've been there for longer than he was aware.
I'm trying to figure out how to use Malcap because Thirst is apparently down.
Okay, that's always fun.
Yeah, it is. I need to figure out what's the commands for Malcav?
Let's see. I can't speak. Sorry. It is // 2 / space roll 1D. That wasn't it. I've used Malcap and somehow the syntax
Found it.
avoids me. Yeah, there we go. 1N, not 1D.
Sorry, I just had to rouse and Thirst was down. I apparently only realized it when it didn't give me a result.
Yep, no worries. All right, so as he calms himself, strangely, supernaturally, all at once when he realizes that you're there, his breathing is still labored. And then see there. Let me guess, you got the intelligence report too, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, it gets worse. Then he just turns on his heels and walks inside. When he walks inside, he grabs a dark brown folder that's clearly marked for special or specific information and tosses it to you.
Oh boy, this is not good.
It is not.
I read the report.
There are 6 4-man teams which have been spotted in the Dalton area. When the intelligence was sent up the flagpole, they were told to not interact. They are operating under mission purview.
All right.
The unnerving thing about it all is you see a name you were hoping to not. James Rich. Whether he's an intelligence source for them, or their operational asset, or their target is unclear. But it's a hands-off or cease and desist order.
That's interesting.
Isn't that the guy you were telling me about? One of those Khmers?
Tremere, yes.
Who had some authority?
Yeah.
And they're either targeting a source of information we just received from your mission report, or they're working with this person.
Well, I got even more bad news that's pissing even me off. Apparently, they have eyes and ears in the organization already. Not only that, but I'm starting to suspect that one of my contacts is growing too suspicious. Debate. And I'm debating whether or not to take him out or not. At the moment, it would be more suspicious to take him out than you get the idea.
Well, slip me the information. I'll put the fear of God into him, and you could play hero. It'll get him off your back, and we will not have to blow your cover just yet.
That's the problem. He might have. If he did, you get the idea.
If you did, you'll have more eyes on you, but you can turn that around.
Yeah, that's good. Right now, I'm going to make it seem like I'm not aware of the situation. As bad as I am at lying, I can at least try to play nice for the time being.
I don't think we're going to have much choice in this. If these yahoos are being involved, this is going to go sideways real fast. You're going to need whatever cover you can drum up. Looking at his watch, he says, unfortunately, I have to do a sit rep. You need to find a way to get more authority. You need to get higher in the food chain faster so that we have more results than they do. No, they don't mind burning down the village to put out a fire.
I have an idea of how to do that. I just needed this report, and now that I have this report, here you go. I hand him back the folder. I'll keep that in mind as I'm going about my vampire business. Dear God, that is hard to say.
It's even harder to hear, but I'm glad to be here to hear it. And with you having made those plans, we will draw this one shot to a close, and I will see you on Friday, my child, unfortunately.
I'll see you on Friday as well.
Thanks so much for the one shot, and we'll see you then. Take care.
You too.